Hey guys, welcome back. And before we go any further, thank you for 3K. I'm gonna do something special for it. I don't know what yet, but I plan on doing something. For now, though, I've got way too much going on in my life, and it's quite personal, so I don't really want to get into too much detail. But I just don't have it in me to write too much at the moment, and this is just a script I've been sitting on for a while. Anyway, with that said, let's get into this. Now, last time we covered what would happen as the Saiyan settles into their life on Earth. So them settle into Earth life pretty well, with them all setting up houses in Mount Paozu, with the two princes being the only ones who don't, as they live out their life at Capsule Corp, with Vegeta and Bulma also getting together way earlier, leading to Trunks being born a lot earlier. Now let's join our heroes a year after we had last seen them, in the age 762, where all our heroes have grown incredibly strong. However, they aren't our current focus. Out in space, we see one of Frieza's planets, or as it is now, one of Colt's planets. We see the team of Paragus, Colt, the Ginyu Force, and a last member, Cooler, all training with one another. The Ginyu Force is slightly outmatched here, however they're keeping in thanks to their good teamwork. Now these 8 have been training together for a few months, and over this time they have all grown incredibly strong. Paragus has grown amazingly strong, thanks to some great Zenkais from all these battles, some of which were self-inflicted. Now, the person I want to talk about the most, and the person people are most interested in, is Cooler, since at first he isn't canon, and people are probably wondering why he's here. And you see, after Cold had recruited Paragus and trained with him for a few months, he decided they need just a small bit more power. So he searched for his other son and made a deal with him, saying how if Cooler was to assist him in the upcoming battle against Earth, he will give him full control of the Cold Force. Of course, Cold doesn't want to run this force anymore, hence why he handed it down to Frieza. He gives the responsibility of the force to Cooler, as long as he helps assist in the battle on Earth. Cooler decides to take this deal, as he joins them in training. The Cooler force is not training, but are present. As he joins them training, this leads to them all growing a lot stronger. As for the standing amongst the group, right now, Cooler is the strongest. Paragus follows along behind, then it goes Cold, Ginyu, Jason Berta are level, Raccoon, and Guldo. They are all feeling prepared after their time of training, ready for their siege on Earth, with them heading towards the planet. The reason they know of the planet's location is thanks to Goku always speaking of the planet, eventually leading to Paragus learning of it, and after a bit of searching, he found it. Now, after a short bit of travel towards the planet, they arrive, and they don't bring any foot soldiers with them. They are the only ones present in this ship. And once they arrive on the planet, they begin to sense round. Remember, Paragus knows how to sense and suppress ki. This would be something he taught to everyone here, meaning their arrival goes unnoticed. After searching around the planet for energy for a little while, they soon split off. Paragus is the only one who heads away from the group, heading towards the power of the two princes, while the others head towards Mount Paozu, where the rest of the Saiyans are located. Saiyans not being able to sense the arrival of this means that they aren't raising any alarms and aren't even ready for any upcoming battles, and this is thanks to them keeping their power super low. Eventually, the Cold Squad arrives at Mount Paozu and see the Saiyans training with one another. Cold is annoyed to see the people who killed his son living so casually, and knows exactly which one is the one responsible for his son's murder, that being Bardock and Broly. Now, while Cold is annoyed, Cooler is laughing to himself, thinking how it's funny how his brother died to such primitive creatures and such weak Saiyans. Now, over with Paragus, he arrives at Capsule Corp, walking through the streets, pretty undetected. After all, other than his tail, he looks pretty much like a human. With him being able to sense Vegeta and Tarbell sparring inside of Capsule Corp, he senses some other small energies, and another one which is slightly bigger than the rest, but he doesn't think too much of it. With Paragus taking a few minutes to locate himself in the correct spot, he throws a huge blast towards the building. One big enough to wipe out the gravity chamber in one swoop and also take a large chunk of Capsule Corp with it. Vegeta and Tarbell, having sensed this, did put their guard up and raise their energy, having blocked a small bit of the attack, however still taking a large amount of damage from this. After the explosion has settled, Paragus begins to raise his energy up, which warns the Saiyans at Mount Paozu that Paragus is here. All of them recognizing his ki, get ready to rush off, but just before they can, 7 huge powers appear right in front of them. Cold, Cooler, and the Ginyu Force show themselves out of the forest. With Bardock, Tora, and Raditz knowing these threats in front of them, they take a fighting stance, but also kind of drop it. They're not sure why they're here and why they're so confident, but they do know that these people are in fact weaker than Frieza. Cold says, "Well, that isn't a very friendly introduction, monkeys. But I won't lie, I wasn't planning on doing any pleasantries myself. I'm here just to avenge my son." Cold then powers up. His power is incredible. This is something they weren't expecting. After all, the last time they knew Cold, he was either weaker or around the same strength as Frieza, but this power is immense. With Cooler and Ginyu's also powering up, it causes the planet to shake. The Saiyans watch on in horror, and Goku shouts out for his wife to get their son and head out of here, with him then shouting for his mother to grab launch and get out of here as well. Telling them both to hide, the pair hesitate, however the sound of Goku's ki flaring up into his Super Saiyan state grabs their attention and breaks them out of their trance. They nod their heads and leave, with the people they needed to grab. Goku then turns his attention towards Cooler, whose power is the highest, with everyone taking a moment, but soon start powering up. Even Piccolo begins to increase his power. Bardock shouting up, "Split into teams. Me and Toro will deal with Cold. Kakarot, you, Broly, and your brother deal with Cooler. Piccolo, I'm sorry, but until the Earthlings get here, you'll have to deal with the Ginyu Force on your own. Be careful. Ginyu can swap bodies with you, and the small one can pause time, so stay on guard." Piccolo nods his head and laughs. "This will be a good warm-up." With this being done, the other Saiyans transform into their Super Saiyan state and rush into their battles. Goku, Broly, and Raditz all swarm Cooler, with the Frost Demon casually blocking the attacks from 2 of the fighters. However, a hit from Raditz breaks through, hitting the demon across the face. This makes the Saiyan smile as Cooler goes rocketing away, and Raditz soon chases after him. Goku and Broly follow along behind Raditz, and the three feel confident in the fact they can win this battle. However, Cooler collects himself and fires off an I-beam towards Raditz, hitting the Saiyan in the face and causing him to crash straight into the ground. Goku slows down, helping his brother up, while Broly continues his rush towards Cooler. The demon throws a punch, and so does Broly. The two fists collide, and the two begin to let out power. Broly screaming, exerting as much power as he possibly can, while Cooler follows along with him, letting out more power, eventually matching Broly and soon outpowering him, causing Cooler to win this clash, knocking Broly back. With Cooler then sensing the power of Goku and Raditz behind him, he turns around to see the two about to land a hit on him. Cooler quickly ducks underneath both attacks and grabs Goku by the legs, spinning him around and throwing him straight into Raditz, the two flying away. The pair quickly catch themselves and fire off 2 blasts. Goku shoots off a Kamehameha and Raditz fires a double Sunday. The 2 attacks merge and hit Cooler dead on, sending Cooler flying away, smashing through Goku's house even. Goku thinks how pissed Chi-Chi will be later, but soon gets ready to fight once again. He senses the power of Cooler before it disappears. With him then hearing a grunt from Broly, he looks over to see Cooler had hit his friend in the gut, and has actually then slammed him into the ground. Goku is amazed at the speed of Cooler, however he doesn't have time to dwell. With him and Raditz rushing back into battle once again, Broly pulls himself out of the ground and also rushes in to help. The three begin a clash against Cooler, and it's a pretty stale fight. No ground is gained on either side, they're slowly nudging each other one way. It's a demon. However, it's a clash that is staying stale right now. Over with the cold battle, Toro and Bardock are fighting using everything they have got, with them using things they used to use back in the old days, and this leads to them getting blow after blow after blow on Cold near the start. However, the king soon begins to increase his power throughout the fight. At first, it wasn't too much of a problem. However, the Saiyans are soon realizing that they are outmatched here, desperately trying to stay in this fight, with Cold's power eventually capping at an incredible height. The two continue to fight, but they are losing ground very fast. Bardock, seeing that his sons aren't even close to defeating Cooler, knows that he and Tora are on their own for now, but keeps pushing, hoping that Piccolo's fight will go well for him, that Vegeta and Tarbell will be alright on their own. Piccolo's battle with the Ginyu Force is interesting, as Piccolo's power is above that of even Ginyu. However, the Namekian is having a hard time dealing with them, thanks to Ginyu and Gordo having annoying abilities to deal with. So he's having to be careful. Alongside this, it's not a completely easy fight for him. After all, they have amazing teamwork, and it's hard to come around such great teamwork. He's having to find holes in their fighting style, but that's pretty hard, being so they keep changing up how they fight. So for now, the Namekian has to play very defensively, only getting hits in every now and again, with him sensing around the planet feeling that the energy of the Earthlings is slowly approaching. However, he is unsure if their power will be enough to turn the tide of this fight, and they could be more of a burden than anything. But he understands that any help will be an improvement, but he does have a plan to maybe take one of them out. After he gains a bit of ground, he starts retreating, flying into a nearby forest. Of course, the Ginyu force chase after him, with Piccolo stretching out one of his arms using the trees to hide what he's doing. Ginyu's not noticing what's happening, they continue to chase Piccolo, as one of his arms slowly approaches behind Raccoon, who is the heavy hitter of this group, other than Ginyu. Eventually, Piccolo manages to grab hold of the ginger fighter's leg as he starts pulling his arm back, and with his other free hand he shoots off multiple big ki blasts to keep the other Ginyu Force members at bay. With this making sure they keep their distance, Piccolo starts charging up a mouth blast as Raccoon is slowly pulled right towards him. Once Raccoon is right in front of Piccolo, the Namekian fires off his blast straight into Raccoon, which kills the Ginyu Force member there, causing the other members to rage. After all, they would sense his energy disappear, and they are pretty close, after all. With them rushing towards Piccolo, the Namekian is exactly happy with how this went. He wanted them to start fighting sloppier, and being enraged will cause this. With him managing to make them fight enraged, it will give him somewhat of an advantage. However, what he didn't account for is the fact that they would all fight a lot harder. Gordo holds his breath for a lot longer than he should, landing multiple hits on Piccolo, and soon sends him flying once releasing his breath. This causes Gordo to be out of breath for a very long time, and he can't use his ability for a while. But the opening he's given Berta is great. The speedster uses this chance and lands hundreds of hits in on Piccolo, doing a lot of damage. Piccolo is then once again sent flying off into the forest, crashing through trees. He fires off a crusher volcano, however Piccolo has caught himself at this point, and fires off his own attack, stopping it. Piccolo managing to gain some ground, takes a moment and gets ready to start fighting defensive again. However, the Ginyus are pissed this time, and start fighting him a lot harder. Over at Capsule Corp, both Vegeta and Tarbell have collected themselves after being hurt. This attack did some good damage, however they blocked a good chunk of it. With them having spotted Paragus, Vegeta turns around and shouts into the building, shouting out for Bulma and Trunks without even realizing. With both being okay, he sighs in relief. Tarbell's amused by his brother's thoughts, however, he soon turns back towards Paragus. Vegeta says, "It looks like the traitor shows himself again. From what I can sense, you brought some friends with you. Tarbell, let's finish this fight and help those others before anything bad happens." Tarbell nods, and both turn into a Super Saiyan. Paragus laughs as he turns into a Super Saiyan as well. This shocks the two, however, they don't really think too much of it. With his power being slightly higher than the two princes, it causes Vegeta to laugh, saying how he thought that Paragus would be a threat. He turns to his brother, telling him to head off and help the others, as he can deal with the old man all alone. Tarbell nods as he rushes off. Paragus watches him fly away, before locking eyes with Vegeta, with him saying, "I'll make you regret that." With the pair clashing, as Vegeta is impressed by the power of Paragus, however, he believes himself to be stronger of the two, as the fight continues in the city, as people begin to get evacuated as buildings crumble down around this power. To realizing that these people are in danger, and having gone through a bit of an early character development, decides to donkey kick Paragus out of the city, sending him flying. With Vegeta chasing off after him, he lands another solid hit before the two begin to clash once again. However, the whole time Paragus smiles. It seems like he's got something up his sleeve. Over with the battle between Piccolo and the Ginyu Force. Piccolo was being put on the back foot. Even after taking down Recruit, the Ginyu Force became more ruthless and are attacking to kill Piccolo, with the Namekian being hurt pretty bad during this. Soon he's put in a tight spot, thanks to Berta and Jace's incredible teamwork, and some good time freezes from Gordo. Ginyu is about to shoot off a blast to kill Piccolo, as the Namekian braces for impact when a shout of "Gallic Gun!" as a purple beam cuts through the air, hitting Ginyu directly, sending him flying away. Piccolo looks up to see Tarbell, who shares an nod with the Namekian before rushing off quick after Ginyu. With two more fighters appearing in Tien and Chaozu, the small human freezes Gordo before he can pause time, giving Tien a chance to quickly kill off the green alien. This freaks out Berta and Jace, who rush towards Tien, going to kill him. But thanks to Tarbell having finished off Ginyu really fast, he intercepts, blocking both attacks and knocking the pair of fighters out before they even get to move. Tarbell then turns towards Piccolo, checking in on the Namekian. He's mostly fine, other than the fact he's drained of a lot of energy. Tien then throws a senzu bean towards Piccolo, who eats it, saying that he needs to head off to help the others, with Tarbell saying that they should go help Bardock and Tora while he helps Goku and Broly. With them all agreeing, they fly out of the forest, rushing towards the battle. Over with Goku, Raditz, and Broly, they are in a stalemate against Cooler. They are only in this fight thanks to the fact they outnumber the demon, with Tarbell rushing in out of nowhere, hitting Cooler, sending the demon flying away. The trio of Saiyan get a chance to catch their breath, with Tarbell asking if they are okay, causing Raditz to say, "It doesn't matter what we do, his power keeps increasing, and I feel as if he hasn't been hurt yet." Goku says something which shocks them all though. It almost seems he's holding back, causing the other Saiyans to panic a bit. Cooler, hearing this, replies, "I guess you figured out my secret. I didn't want to reveal it just yet, but I guess you do deserve it." With Cooler starting to strain his body, he begins to change and soon turns into his final form, with his power being incredible, something that stops every fight happening on the planet. Thanks to the fact that Cooler had kept this form under wraps, no one, including Cold, knew about it. Cooler disappears and reappears in front of Goku, grabbing him by the throat and throwing him into the ground. Raditz goes to help his brother, however Cooler uses his tail and grabs Raditz by the neck and begins to choke him out, with him then kneeing Broly in the gut and slamming Raditz into the Big Saiyan before turning his attention towards Tarbell, who he grabs by the face. He then begins to punch the Saiyan in the stomach repeatedly. Goku rushes back into the fight and throws a punch towards Cooler. It connects with Cooler's face, however the demon doesn't even budge. Cooler slightly turns his head towards Goku before smacking him with his tail, sending Goku flying miles away. With Broly and Raditz rushing Cooler once again, Raditz going to hit Cooler, who easily blocks, while Broly grabs hold of Cooler, trying to squeeze down on him, hoping to make him release Tarbell. Cooler laughs as he releases Tarbell and goes to attack Broly, but just as he releases Tarbell, the Saiyan cups his hands together and shouts out, "Final Flash!" releasing the blast so close to Cooler that he also gets caught up in the following explosion, sending himself ragdolling away. However, as the smoke clears, Cooler is still stood there unmoved, but Broly has been sent flying himself. Cooler stands triumphant over the Saiyans, who are barely able to stand. Then once again rushing him, they are easily put back down, and now officially on the ground, unable to get up. Over with Tora and Bardock, they are still losing ground in the battle against Cold. Having sensed Cooler transform, they are worried about the people who are fighting him. However, Cold will not allow them to get a break to help the others, so they are stuck in a dangerous fight. But after Cooler had transformed, Cold did get slightly distracted, and this gives an opening for two fighters in the forest to take an attack. As Piccolo and Tien see their opening, they both fire off their strongest attacks. For Piccolo, it's his special beam cannon, and Tien fires a tri-beam. Both attacks make contact with Cold, dealing massive damage to Cold, giving an opening for Bardock and Tora, who both manage to land very strong attacks and combo off one another for a few seconds. However, they don't manage to put Cold down. As Cold collects himself, he fires an I-beam straight through Bardock's chest, sending the old Saiyan crashing into the ground. Everyone seeing this, they let out a scream for their friend, as Cold easily shoots a blast at both Piccolo and Tien. Sends both crashing into the forest, knocking them out in one hit. With Cold laughing to himself, Tora begins to throw a barrage of punches towards the Emperor. However, nothing phases him, as he quickly puts down Tora with one massive hammer arm, leaving all Saiyans present unable to fight or even move. With Cold starting to approach the slowly dying Bardock, the Ultra Saiyan starts trying to stand and transform, but is unable to. Cold, getting closer to Bardock, eventually kicks the Saiyan, sending him crashing through his and Gine's house, landing him in his bedroom. With Cold continuing to walk towards Bardock, Goku and Raditz manage to stand off in the distance, Goku even managing to power up. However, they are soon put back down by Cooler, with the pair shouting out for their father and even Broly shouting out for Bardock. Bardock pulls himself up to his feet once again, but a small ki blast from Cold sends him flying through the rest of his home, where he crashes into a tree. When he crashes, he hears a whimper from behind, but he doesn't have time to check. King is once again upon Bardock. However, this time no attack is thrown. Cold begins to charge up a death beam from a distance, pointing it towards Bardock's head, saying, "I suppose it's about time you joined the rest of your race, old timer. Don't worry, your family will be joining you in hell soon after. After all, you killed mine, so I'll kill yours." With him about to fire off a blast when a shout of "no" erupts from the forest. Gine rockets out of the forest, pushing Bardock out of the way and getting hit herself. The attack goes straight through her chest, and the woman begins to struggle for breath. Cold punctured her lung, and Cold starts to laugh to himself, finding it funny how the woman tried to save Bardock, but in the end, she only brought him a few extra minutes. But at this point, the planet shakes like never before. It shakes when Cooler transforms, but right now, every building around the world begins to crack, windows begin to smash, and the ocean starts to form violent waves. Bardock shouts out, "You heard my wife. I'll make you pay!" As his eyes white out, as he rushes towards Cold, landing a blow on Cold's gut, but that's all the steam Bardock had. Having used too much energy, he passes out, but the assault doesn't end there. From the forest, the trees begin to shake, and the birds start to leave. As a golden glow erupts from them, soon a small rocket fires out from the forest. Gohan hits Cold directly in the face, unleashing a barrage of blows, as he shouts out towards Cold, screaming in his face, "Leave my grandparents alone!" Gohan lands hit after hit, smashing Cold backwards, but the boy doesn't stop. With his speed being too much for even Cooler to follow, he watches as the boy kicks Cold directly into the ground, creating a massive crater. As everyone finally gets a good look at Gohan, with Gine seeing that Gohan had finally become a Super Saiyan. Cold's body is bloody, broken, and beaten, and is unable to move. Gohan calms down as he drops into his base state and rushes over to his grandparents. Cooler, still in shock, he goes to fire a blast, but what he didn't realise is the four Saiyans under him were all back on their feet and extremely pissed off. Cold's pretty much dead, and now they set their rage on the likes of Cooler. Broly rushes in, his power skyrockets upwards. He lands a hit dead on. The attack does some damage but doesn't move Cooler, with Cooler's power being way too much. With someone seeing this, a shout of "Super Kaioken times 10" breaks through from behind as Goku's body rockets out at Cooler. Goku, faster than anyone can see, lands a hit on Cooler's face, sending the future Emperor flying across the battlefield. Goku follows up faster than Cooler can see once again, as he appears behind Cooler, landing a massive hammer on, nailing Cooler into the ground, before picking him up and upcutting him into the sky, where he is met by a very pissed off Raditz and Tarbell, who both throw a barrage of punches and kicks towards Cooler, sending him flying towards the ground once again, smashing him into the dirt. Broly appears above Cooler and stomps on him for a few seconds before picking up the demon, saying, "Never hurt our family," as he throws him in between himself and Tarbell, where all four Saiyans charge up their strongest attacks. They all collide on Cooler, and the monster is completely destroyed. With them all glad to have killed him, they rush over to Bardock, where they see he will need a senzu bean alongside Gine. With Goku about to rush off to get them, Chaozu appears from the forest, holding both Tien and Piccolo. He throws over the senzu beans that Tien had brought. With there being four available, Goku gives one each to both Bardock and Gine, as he splits the last two between himself, Raditz, Broly, and Tarbell. As Tora pulls himself up, announcing how he won't need one, it works out pretty well. Everyone collects themselves, with Goku saying how proud he is of his son. Before they can have a chance to celebrate, though, a sudden change in the battle between Vegeta and Paragus happens, and they realize Vegeta needs their help, and everyone starts to rush off towards them. Over with the battle with Vegeta, he's battling it all out with Paragus, the pair being locked in terms of power. With Vegeta and Paragus both have taken some pretty heavy hits, but Vegeta is at a disadvantage. He's had to keep his mind on the battle that's raging on at Mount Paozu, with him wanting to get over and help the others as much as he possibly can, and is unfortunately caught up in a battle with this stupid old Saiyan. The battle continues up until the point of Gohan's rage, which catches Paragus off guard. It lets Vegeta land some solid blows in on Paragus, and sends the old Saiyan hurling towards the ground. Vegeta sends a barrage of blasts towards the old man, which Vegeta believes to be the end of him. Having sensed his power disappear, Vegeta turns his attention towards Mount Paozu, but can sense that they have won the battle. He drops out of his Super Saiyan state and gets ready to head off. However, he soon feels a slice cut through his tail, before turning back to see what happened, with him then seeing a ball flying up into the sky. With him looking down to see Paragus having thrown a power ball into the sky, he begins to laugh. However, Vegeta is confused, as the Great Ape state is so much weaker than the Super Saiyan form. Paragus begins to grow in size as Vegeta once again powers up, getting ready to fight, But Paragus begins to laugh as his size grows, and soon his power begins to rise dramatically. As he starts powering up, his fur begins to glow golden, and Vegeta realizes what Paragus is doing. Vegeta curses at the top of his lungs as he fires off a Galagon, trying to put Paragus down. However, the Golden Great Ape tanks to hit as Paragus shouts out, "The royal bloodline ends here, by my hand. I never needed those stupid demons, but the power they helped me achieve was worth putting up with them. After I kill you and your stupid younger brother, I think I'll start by destroying that brat in that building you're at, for finishing off all those other fools at that stupid battlefield. They should be weak enough that I can kill them now." Paragus laughs like a crazy person, which soon turns into a monstrous war. With Golden Great Ape Paragus rushing at Vegeta, the Prince not being able to avoid the attack is slammed by the giant arms of the Great Ape. This sends Vegeta completely rocketing away, and the Great Ape chases after him. The Prince uses the momentum given to him from the attack and starts flying away. As much as he hates it, he needs to gain some distance. However, the Great Ape's speed is much greater than that of Vegeta's, with Paragus soon catching up with him, hitting Vegeta with one of his massive arms again. This breaks a few of Vegeta's bones, but the Prince grabs onto the fur on the arm of the ape and charges up a blast. Paragus goes to look at the Prince, however, as he does, Vegeta fires off a blast, blinding Paragus slightly. Vegeta flies under Paragus's legs and goes to grab his tail, with him just about to grab hold of it when it smacks him into the ground. Vegeta lies there for a few seconds as he starts to pull himself up. Paragus' sight comes back to him. He turns to see Vegeta, trying to stand up. The monster lets out a terrifying roar, with Vegeta realizing that Paragus has completely lost himself in this power. He laughs, thinking at least Paragus won't get the joy of remembering this moment, but he also understands that Paragus is way too strong for anyone right now, and he hopes that they come up with a plan. Just before the giant foot of the Great Ape stomps Vegeta into the ground, a shout of Destructo Disc comes cutting through the air as the giant tail of the monster is smacked onto the floor. Vegeta looks over to the side, seeing Krillin and Yamcha. Yamcha rushing in and grabbing Vegeta, causing Vegeta to shout at the Earthling. However, right now Vegeta doesn't have the energy to put up much of a fight. As Paragus begins to shrink, he is reverting back to his human state. He looks over to see the Earthlings who are flying away with Vegeta. Paragus curses as he goes to fire off a blast when he feels someone grab his shoulder, and then recognizes the key. He turns to see Broly and the other Saiyans. Paragus panics as he starts trying to plead for his life, pretending how he was forced to do it. However, everyone knows that Paragus is the reason Cold and Cooler knew to come to Earth, and how they became so strong. Bardock pushes past Broly, saying that the boy shouldn't hold this burden, as he punches Paragus straight in the face, sending him flying away. Bardock says, "It's a shame you had to turn out like this, Paragus," with Bardock firing off a blast, killing Paragus, who in his last moment curses out the name Vegeta. With Paragus killed, Bardock turns to comfort Broly, the boy having sort of become adopted into the Sun family. However, Broly's fine. He's just upset his father couldn't see that if they changed, they could lead a normal life. With Krillin and Yamcha flying back towards the group, as Vegeta breaks free of Yamcha's grasp, asking when did they arrive, and Krillin and Yamcha go on to explain how they have been here for actually most of the fight. However, they knew that Vegeta would probably get angry with them if he was to step in. So they watched from the sides and they would jump in if something went sideways. And they thought Vegeta was going to win up until the point he turned into that golden great ape thing, which is what grabs the group's attention. What do they mean by golden great ape? As Vegeta explains how Paragus cut off his tail and then turned into a great ape and combined it with the power of Super Saiyan. It's something Vegeta was planning on doing later on, but now he can't. Everyone hearing this thinks about it. I think this could be an interesting step to take, but for now they all need some rest and they decide to head home. Goku and Vegeta have a bit of home repair to do, but honestly, everyone's just happy they're alive right now. Well, not everyone's happy. Off in a lab, hidden away in the mountains, a doctor looks at the data in front of him, where he sees everything that happened today and realizes he was underestimating the Saiyans. As he looks over to some pods with the numbers 17 and 18 written on them, he begins thinking to himself how they will no longer be enough. The doctor walks to the other side of the room, where a robe covers three large pods. When he removes the robe, the numbers 15, 14, and 13 are all shown on the pods, as the doctor starts working on the creatures inside, knowing that this might be enough firepower. However, this is where I'm leaving this part. It's kind of dragged on, but I kind of liked it. Yeah, I hope people enjoyed this. I haven't touched this what if in like 2 months, I want to say. And when I sat down to write for it, I couldn't help but have a bit of fun for it. I was going to name this arc, but I couldn't come up with one. Paragus' revenge is probably the best way to put it, because it is Paragus trying to get his revenge, but it kind of goes south. A lot happens, and I probably need to explain why Cooler and Cold didn't get their golden states. One, because that would be fucking overkill, and two, because they weren't aiming to beat someone who had battled with, well, Beerus and Boo, which is probably what made, Frieza go so hard. Plus, the two had skipped out on a lot of training, so they just grew incredibly strong. Plus, they weren't even the strongest. Paragus' Golden Great Ape was actually the strongest thing there, which is something else I should probably talk about. Paragus lost control even though he can control his Great Ape state because the power was too much and he was way too angry to be using something like that combined. So he just lost himself to the Beast's fury. And yeah, that's pretty much everything I feel like I need to explain. So with that said and done, I hope everyone enjoyed. I hope you all have a good day and night, and hopefully I'll see you next time.